yoga, weed. This has been a very popular combination in India since ancient times. There are many religious texts that suggest that weed and yoga provide this synergistic, perfect combination that the yogis have been using for centuries. Cannabis use allows for a quieting of the outside world and the ability to focus more totally on the interior process of meditation. I never really thought about this combination, but when I did, it totally makes sense, right? I mean, think about it. When you smoke ganja, it causes this chemical reaction in the body, right? The heart slows down, the breathing rate changes, the brain waves alters, to a point where the mind becomes more calm and still. So yeah, when I found out about this, I'm like, I have got to try this. And even though I like to look for justifications for me smoking weed, doing various activities, this one sounded pretty legit. So I joined a Bikram yoga class. So for those that don't know, Bikram yoga or hot yoga it's pretty much just regular yoga, but you do it in a very high temperature room. And the temperature can go up to like 35 degrees Celsius. Don't ask me what that is in Fahrenheit. So I had about a quarter of a pop brownie, but just keep in mind that these brownies were extremely potent to the point where even half is almost too much for me. And that's saying something. To say the least, I can handle my weed, but these ones were just like too much, man. So I had the brownie about 45 minutes to an hour just before the class started. This was so the weed would kick in as I entered the class. It definitely kicked in before the class started. Just for those who don't know, getting high off an edible is quite different to smoking weed. The active compound when you smoke weed is called THC. But when you eat weed, it gets processed through your liver and produces a compound called 11-hydroxy metabolite, which is 5 times more psychoactive than THC. So it starts to get a little bit more into the psychedelic territory, especially when you have huge amounts. Now that we set up the context, let us continue the story. So I went in the yoga class and like the brownie full on kicked in. I'm just like blasted, man. When I consume weed, because of my personality, it magnifies the introversion that I already have. So I get very much withdrawn in my head. So just talking to people gets very awkward for me sometimes. Like when I get to a certain level, right? Especially when I eat weed. So I walk in, I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh shit, I hope these people don't know I'm high. Like, fuck, maybe I stink of it. Because I think I actually smoked a joint as well. Fucking anyway. But I move on, get my stuff ready, and then walk in the room. And I remember walking in, there was so many people there, and it was very overwhelming. Usually I just walk in, put my yoga mat down, and I just get prepared for the class, right? But because I was high of weed, everything just slowed down. And you know, like when you have that sense like everyone's looking at you, or like they somehow know that you're high. So I'm just walking in there like, oh, okay, just try to act normal, Tom. It's okay. Just no one knows. It's okay. Just get your yoga mat ready and just sit there, shut up, and don't look at anybody. Like I said before, the temperature gets pretty hot. I think it was about 35 degrees. So I was already struggling before the class even started. Like I was just sitting there kind of meditating and just going into my own little world, my own little trance. And my body was like, you know, because having an edible makes you have more of a body high. So what I'm trying to say is it's a lot more intense. So the teacher came in, started doing the warm-ups, a few yoga poses and stretches and whatnot. And man, now I understand why people use weed and combine it with yoga, because your body becomes so much more limber. Like I was able to stretch so much further than what I usually could. And it was amazing because like the meditative trance that you get into is like fucking on point. Like in other words, it's so much easier to get into that zone and get focused on what you're doing. But, a very big but, when you lose concentration and you're not 100% focused in what you're doing, the yoga practice becomes a lot more difficult, like tenfold. For like 5 minutes of class, I was really struggling, guys. Like not just because of the heat, but because of the intense yoga poses. And I'm just like regretting that I did this, because once you're in, it's like they lock the doors and it'll be so embarrassing just like leaving the class. You can't do that, especially when I'm high. No fucking way. So I'm just sitting there just regretting my decision, like, oh no, what the fuck did I get myself into? Fuck! And this will come in waves, because when I'm super focused on what I'm doing, then it's like beautiful. I'm able to stretch a lot more effectively and get more into that meditative trance. But then when I lose focus, it's very difficult. I think this really takes practice, and not just any idiot like myself who's a yoga beginner who just eats a brownie and can pull this off. Like I think you have to be at a certain level to pull this off, because like I'm by no means a pro. I'm like a yeah, I would consider myself a beginner in yoga. Like, so when you eat an edible brownie, I think I smoked a joint beforehand as well. Yeah. And it was very intense because of the amount of people were there, and because I was struggling so much and trying to keep up, like I felt embarrassed to like kind of rest for too long, you know what I mean? And I know it's stupid, but when I smoke weed, I get like I said, I get way too much in my head and too introverted and too like self-cautious, and you know what I mean? And I remember during one pose, like, this is how much of an asshole my brain can be, especially when I smoke weed. My brain goes, wouldn't it be embarrassing if you could have boner right now? And then my thought starts going towards that direction. I'm like, no, think of something else. Fuck, chairs, cars, music. No, I didn't get a bone, and I don't know why my mind went there. Like, I've done quite a few yoga sessions, and not once has my mind jumped on that thought train. I don't know why I did this time. So the class finally finished, and I was like, you don't understand, guys. I was struggling so much to get through this class. Like, I was just in my head, just focus on your breathing. Come on, you can do this, Tom, man. You can do this. You can do this. So anyways, the class finished, and my opinion of mixing weed and yoga was mixed. I thought it was like the most amazing thing that I've ever done in my life, and also the biggest mistake that I've done. It went in cycles, but I knew that if I trained myself to do this properly, that I can pull this off and just get massive gains from this. So, and I forgot to mention, I think this happened about 6-7 months ago. About 2 weeks later, I decided to try it again, but just not with edible brownie. I think it was just too intense, at least to do a public yoga class in, you know? This time I smoked a small joint just before I walked in the class. And again, I might not have been as, you know, whatever that means. So I might not have been as blasted as I was when I ate the edible, but again, this was still very potent weed. I think it was a hybrid of sativa and indica. I'm not a very social person when I smoke weed, at least when I'm talking to strangers and stuff. Like, maybe if I'm smoking with people, then yeah, of course, that's awesome, but not when I'm just out and about in public talking to random people. So I was still withdrawn, just trying to keep the conversation short, like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, all right, cool, just do my shit. And I walk in the class, and then here we go again, let's see how it goes. So again, I was struggling pretty hard, and in my head, I was having like this inner monologue, like this motivational speech going on. Come on, man, you can do this, just focus on your breathing. It will all be over. You've only got like, shit, 45 minutes left. Doesn't matter, you can do this. And you know, halfway through the class, something really intense happened. I was doing some, you know, yoga position, I don't remember what, but I was on the ground, and then I got up real quick, and then I swear to God, guys, I almost blacked out. Like, everything just went black, and I got that really high frequency pitch. And for a few seconds, I didn't know where I was, and I actually almost collapsed. I was like, ooh, shit. Like, it took me a good 3 to 5 seconds to get reacquainted with this reality and where I was. It was actually pretty scary. And I thought it was funny, the first thought that came into my head when I finally got out of it, not was, oh shit, I hope I'm okay. It was, fuck, I hope no one saw me. That'd be embarrassing. What happened if they stopped the class? Oh no, that'd be fucking humiliating. That's where my mind goes, especially on weed. But luckily no one noticed. And I remember everyone was like doing a completely different position on the ground. And I was like completely standing up, like looking around like, ooh. Oh shit, oh shit, and just, you know, continue doing the practice. So after that, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna smoke weed before going to a public yoga class, at least not until I get better at the practice. If I was doing yoga at home at my own pace with not like 20 people around me, then yeah, okay. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. It was, yeah, like I said, I can see why so many yogis in India have been combining weed with yoga for, you know, for centuries. But I think I'm not quite there yet, because like I said, yoga can be very difficult just by itself. But then again, to each their own. You can be a beginner yoga practitioner, and you could think that mixing weed is the best thing ever, and that you don't struggle with that, you know, getting out of focus, and you're just in the zone throughout the whole session. This could just be me and my own crazy monkey mind. But I'd love to know in the comments below if any of you guys have experienced mixing weed with yoga, and if you have, do you find any particular strain to be better, like indica or sativa, or if you prefer eating weed before it? Let us know. But if you did enjoy this video, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel for weekly drug-related content. And for those legends who've been supporting me on Patreon, thank you guys so much. You have my deepest gratitude. Yeah, much love. For those who don't know, YouTube has been fucking around with demonetizing a lot of my videos and the algorithm because of the type of content that I produce. So I virtually depend on just Patreon for supporting me and for keeping this channel afloat and more sustainable. So if you enjoy the type of videos that I make and want to get behind me, feel free. That's probably the best way to do it. But that's it, guys. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.